podcast. This is episode 4. So tonight we'll be interviewing a very good friend of mine, retired NHL veteran, played over 500 games in the NHL for Vancouver, New York, Montreal, and Philadelphia. He's a good friend of mine, big mentor of mine too, Dale Weise. How are you doing, brother?
Excellent, buddy. I'm happy to be here with you. It's been too long.
I know it has been a while, and again, I appreciate you doing this. I know, again, you're a very busy guy, and you were telling me you're doing some stuff before hopping on here. So again, I appreciate you doing this, and yeah, man, just how's life been, and how's post-retirement been for you with your hockey career?
Yeah, life's great, man. Life's busy. Last time we talked, I was probably still building my house. I'm still building my house now. So, I would have planned to be in the city a lot sooner and, doing some other things. But, the timing kind of works the way that it works. My kids will get a chance to finish school where we've been living at the lake. Then we'll hopefully move in the next couple months. I closed on a business about 3 weeks ago that I've been trying to buy for 2 years. Back and forth with the owner. So I finally took over that one about 3 weeks ago. So that's been extremely busy. I'm in the city a ton now, which is about, 2 hours from where my lake house is. So not seeing my kids a lot, but the last couple of weeks I was like from my house in the morning, I drive 2 hours, I get to the shop, learning everything I can from the old owner. Then I drive an hour and a half to hockey practice. Then I come back in the city and just bounce back and forth. So the last couple of weeks has been busy. Hockey's over now, for my kids and myself. I played actually in a beer league this year, so it's starting to slow down now, and then starting to ramp up, obviously, with my new business and my house finishing up. So it's been busy.
Awesome, man. I'm so happy for you. How did your beer league season go this year? How did it go? Just take it easy in hockey, and first year you can kind of just chill out. How did that go?
Yeah, it was fun, man. To be honest with you, I had a ton of fun. I played a couple games, like when I finished in Sweden in 2022. I played like 4 or 5 games with a team in the little town that I was living in, and I don't know, the year after it wasn't really fun for me. I didn't have a real itch to be out there, and then obviously playing 4 or 5 games in a year is a lot different than I was used to. So you kind of get that hunger back. And then this year I actually played full time, where we were playing every Friday, sometimes Friday, Saturday. So I really enjoyed it. We had a great group of guys. A lot of the dads, I coach their kids and stuff in our town. And the guy that kind of runs the team was, my daughter plays on his team and stuff. So it was a lot of buddies that I got to know really, really well on Friday nights. And it was fun. We played in a league. Our youngest guy was probably, we had a couple guys, maybe late 20s. We were playing a lot of teams that are, guys fresh out of junior and stuff. So it was pretty good competition. It was a pretty good league. It was fun. We ended up losing, I believe we were in the B side final. We lost 10-9 to the team that ended up winning the league. Should have won that game. That was a heartbreaker. And then we lost 6-5 in shootout in the B side final. So we didn't get a chance to make it back to the final and upset them. But it was awesome, man. I had a ton of fun. I'll definitely play again next year.
That's awesome, man. Was Derek on your team, or?
No, he played, but he played in the city, and I was playing. Our league was out where I live, so it was about 2 hours away. I tried to get Derek out. We kind of took some guys from our beer league team and a lot of friends we knew, me and the other guy that I play with, and we kind of stacked a team for a tournament and absolutely ran through everybody. It was so much fun. I tried to get Derek to come play in that tournament. He didn't want to come play. But yeah, maybe we'll play together next year. We'll see if I can convince him to come drive with me every Friday night. We'll see.
There you go. That's awesome, man. So I remember, back then, like again, 2022, you kind of ended your stint with in the SHL. I think it was IK Oscar Shaman, and I remember you telling me you kind of needed a break from the game, and which I could understand that. You dedicate your whole life to being at the top of your trade and things like that. But now obviously you're very involved in hockey again, and how beneficial was maybe that break, maybe a year break from hockey, and going forward, how beneficial was that for you?
Yeah, I think I needed it personally, and I've spoken it with you at length on numerous times. I'm not happy about the way my career ended in the NHL, or in Europe. It's obviously not the way I saw it playing out. But I mean, again, we've talked about it at length. How many guys actually end their career storybook? I win the Stanley Cup. I played till I'm 40 years old, and see you later. It just doesn't happen. You know, so I think a little bit of bitterness, a little bit of resentment. I think I needed to step away from it. I didn't enjoy watching it. I didn't enjoy playing it. I didn't have any desire to play it. So then I stepped away. I had a ton of passion coaching my oldest son, Hunter, which I did again this year. And, you know, you get through coaching and I'm not playing. It's like, man, I wish I'm out there. I feel like I'm playing through my son. You know, that a lot of people say you think it's crazy, but I get the feeling now. And then this year, you know, just getting back into it and wanting to be out there and wanting to watch hockey. And, you know, I love watching McDavid. I love watching Matthews. I love watching the top guys. They're just so skilled. It's just, I enjoy watching it again. I'm a fan. And, you know, again, have I completely let go of my resentment and my bitterness? Probably, yeah. I mean, you know, time heals all wounds. And I think I finally turned the page and accepted my next stage in life. And, you know, just trying to live in the moment and enjoy what I'm doing now. And, you know, being okay with, you know, being proud of the chapter that I had and succeeding and doing what I did. But, you know, having to close the door on that and being okay with that, I think is something I think every athlete kind of goes through. And I don't know if there's a timeline that you can say, you know, it's going to take this long. I don't really know. And obviously I've found other passions, which has helped. And on the business side, obviously I have goals and stuff that I can chase now, which I think is very important. So yeah, it's, you know, and that's a long-winded answer for you there, but I think that's kind of the path that I've gone over the last 3 years here, you know, retiring and getting into everything else.
That's awesome, man. Like that's the thing, you know, sometimes like there are some players or former players, sorry, that, you know, when they retire from the game, they're kind of, you know, they need a little bit of a break. Like I know for a fact I think Billy Smith, you know, the former Islanders goalie from, you know, back in the 80s, I think he even said like, for a while he didn't like watch or follow any hockey at all. You know, sometimes you just kind of get it all out of your system and, you know, maybe you need a break for a while. Like I know Wayne Gretzky too was, you know, he retired and then, you know, he went into coaching and management for a bit. And then he kind of got out of it for a bit. And now he's back on the TNT panel and he's just like, him and Biz are just such a riot together. They're so good together. It's awesome. Yeah, man, for sure. Like, you know, another thing I wanted to talk about too was, you know, again, it's going to be 10 years for the infamous playoff run that you were a part of in 2014 with the Habs. You know, it feels like yesterday for me. I was grade 12 in high school. You know, senior year, second semester, and just that playoff run will always be like a memory of mine for the rest of my life. And is that still, you know, that's something that you'll always cherish for, you know, a while?
Oh, absolutely. You know, the memories, you know, I created in that playoff run, when I think on my career, when I do, you know, flashback or think about it, like that's obviously to me, that was the highlight. You know, that first stint when I came to Montreal, you know, to when I got traded, that was obviously the highlight of the NHL for me. All aspects, the players that I played with, the coaching, management, team, city, everything was the pinnacle for me. Yeah, I can't believe it's been 10 years when I look back and think about it. It literally feels like yesterday. I remember all the moments, you know, before Game 7. I can tell, you know, just the little things that you just will never forget. Yeah, that was pretty special. I had a couple of good 10-year memories. We had the brawl with Vancouver Calgary that came up that I was in.
Oh, that's right.
I think that was 10 years too.
Yep.
And then I saw one in January. It might have been, I feel like I was 11 years. I think it was 2013 when I got in the brawl with Boston. We were at the line brawl too, the first game back with Vancouver. So I've had a lot of those this year in the last 2 years of like, you know, pretty good memories that have popped up from 10 years ago. It makes you think, holy smokes, that was a long time. And you know, makes you think how quick things fly by.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, it just the time really flies, and it's just like the snap of a finger, and it's like boom, right? And
Yeah, and
yeah,
it's so cool. It's so cool. Sorry to interrupt
no,
you there.
no, go ahead, buddy.
All the Habs fans that I speak with now, or I see out in public, or whatever, I do a couple of these like Hockey Helps the Homeless. We get a lot of Montreal fans up there, and
Mhm.
I did an alumni tour where I went to a lot of Habs fans, and just that era of people that grew up in those years, like yourself, when you're a young kid, and like those are the teams you remember, like the 14, 15 teams and those players, and yeah, it's pretty cool to think about.
Absolutely, man. Like those teams were really lights out. Like around that time, like there was, you could just tell, like even just from a fans like aspect, you could just see like how close the room was, and like you guys just, there was just such a good group of players. I know we've talked about it in the past too, like how you think Burge like split up the core maybe a little bit too early, and
Yeah,
I do agree with you. I think like that you guys had like a really good thing going at that time. I think maybe should have kept it for like another year or two and tried,
at
try to
least,
make it
at
work.
least. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, again, we've talked about it, and I love talking about it because I think he just really, like, Lars Eller, me, Subi, Pacioretty shortly after, like, just way too fast. Desharnais, after me, like guys that were really good players for us that made the good core of our team. We lost the best goaltender in the world that time. That's why we weren't winning games. It had
Yeah,
nothing to do with the team. The best goaltender in the world that made our team extremely well got hurt. You can't replace him, and he just blew the team up for that.
yeah,
That one I'll never let go.
yeah. No, for sure. And it was one thing I actually wanted to share with you too. And I believe you scored your first goal with the Habs in Buffalo against the Sabres in March
Yeah.
of 2014 around St. Patrick's Day. And it was crazy enough. I was actually at that game. I don't think I've ever told you, but I was at that game when you
Oh
scored
yeah,
your
you
first
never
goal.
told me that.
Yeah, yeah. My parents and my brother and I, the four of us, made the trip down to Buffalo, watch that game, and yeah, I saw you score
Right.
your first goal with the
Yeah,
Habs. I thought,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I just wanted to share that too. So
that's
yeah,
awesome. You
man.
never told me that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. Like, another thing too. I don't know if you saw it the other day, but John Tortorella made Sean Couturier, who's their the Flyers captain, a healthy scratch.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. What do you think about that? I wanted to get your take on that.
And when I was younger, John Tortorella, and me probably didn't see eye to eye because I wasn't afraid to voice my opinion with him. And just, I wasn't going to take some of the stuff that he was doing to me as a young guy, but I've always said as I got older, I probably could have handled him a bit better, and he would have been fine. And when I had him the second stint in Vancouver, he was fine. Like, I don't mind him as a human being. I think he's a good man. I got nothing bad to say about him as a person, but these tactics have continued to happen, and they're never good for the team. They never work out. Benching your captain, I don't care how poorly he's playing. I don't care how poor he is. If he's the worst player on your team, he's still the captain. You just don't do that. He's the captain for a reason. Like he's someone that team, you just named him captain this year. Am I wrong? They could just name him
Yeah,
captain this year.
yeah, they did this year.
You just don't do that. Like you lose the room when you do that. And it's not
Yeah,
like people are rallying behind him and being like, yeah, we want to go win this game now. Like it's the wrong message. It's the wrong play. He's done it so many times and it never works. And I just find it so funny. Like the guy's been, we won a Stanley Cup in 2004, 20 years ago. And
mm-hmm.
he's like, every team has brought him in to bring in a different voice. And you would have figured at this point he would have adjusted and changed. And he hasn't. And I don't watch the Flyers enough. I don't know how he's playing. I know how big of an influence Sean Couturier is in that room. I know the type of person he is. He's a prideful guy, great work ethic. A tremendous leader. He should have been the captain when I was there, bar none. It was not Giroux. He was, to me, Couturier should have been the captain.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know. I don't agree with it. And then I don't like how he doesn't have to answer it in the media. Like, answer it. Say something.
Yeah.
Like, And you know, in my life, you watch Couturier's interview, and he's like, you know, Tortorella always talks. He's got an open door, and he communicates so well with the players, and his door's out. Well, if he does, then why did Couturier go? You know, he never said anything to me. Just told me I'm not playing. That's it. He hasn't told me why or what. Like, it's just so phony. It's so smoke and mirrors, and it's just like, if you've watched enough of it, it happens everywhere. It's the exact same script every single time, and it's just like, come on. Like, for the fans, it's great. Like, I look at the comments on Instagram, and people love it. They're like, oh, I saw Brandon Dubinsky call them out today, and it was perfect. There's a guy that's played. Like, he has nothing to lose. He's going to tell you what he thinks, exactly like myself. I don't care. I'm not getting a job with the Philadelphia Flyers. I'll tell you the honest truth about him, and that's like, you don't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you played with Dubinsky in New York for a bit, right? Yeah. So I mean, he had the pleasure of being coached by Torts twice, right? Back in New York and then Columbus.
Yeah, me.
Right? Yeah. So I mean, he was a pretty solid like two-way player back in the day. I mean, I see some right, and I see some comments that people say like that maybe Torts kind of like maybe killed his love for the game. It kind of seems like it at times, right? Because obviously he's been very like vocal about calling him out and stuff in the past, right? So
yeah, and so many guys are, you know, still in hockey or somewhat, so they're afraid to be honest because they're like, you never know if you're going to cross paths, and so many guys are afraid to burn bridges. It's why NHL guys, when you're getting interviews, they don't tell you the truth of what they really think, because it's like, well, that guy's probably going to get a job in another team, so I better not bury myself and tell you the truth. But like, I love when you get guys that are retired that are not involved in hockey, that you really get the truth. And there'd be a million guys that would tell you that truth on John Tortorella.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I love like hearing. Oh, sorry, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, no, sorry. It's just such a show. Like when he was he's standing on the bench and he wouldn't leave when the ref kicked him out, and then the CEO from Comcast is like, I'm paying his fine because he has the players back. You think he was having the players back there? No. He loves to put on a show because it's about him. He wants to be center of attention. He loves that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember, again, being a kid and seeing him coaching Tampa, and like he told Larry Brooks to like get the fuck out of the room, like just straight up. Like he doesn't. Like he's like, I think he's a hard ass coach, obviously, but yeah, I do think there's a bit of theatrical that comes with it because
for sure. And it's again like from a fan standpoint, it's hilarious. And if I never had if I never experienced it personally, then I probably would sit here and say the same thing and say, man, he's so entertaining. I love watching it. But like I've been on the other side, so I have a little bit of a different opinion on it. But don't get me wrong, it's entertaining and it's different. So it's good TV because we don't have many personalities like him in the NHL.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I remember you were saying back, like even with Habs Tonight with some of like the streams we were doing back then, like I remember you saying too, like you'd be surprised about how many guys have like a big personality, like they're not allowed to show it, right? And I remember even you saying like how you and PK had like very matching personalities back then too, and like I just think it's it's that older generation of hockey, that old school mentality that you said before, right? It still kind of has its voice in the game still, but hopefully one day things change. But I don't know. I feel like again, all the other sports, like I watch like a little bit of the NBA. I watch the NFL a lot and baseball too. And a lot of these guys are they're just themselves in front of the camera on the field. They're allowed to be themselves, and it sells, right? So
100%. Yep.
Yeah, like I just think like the NHL should do that route, but again, I think it's just that old school hockey culture. And I remember you saying too to me once that sometimes too, like if you show the personality, some locker rooms may not like it because there's some players in the room that maybe are more like the serious kind of leader type. So it's but again, it would be great for hopefully one day that it kind of it changes that way. But I was gonna ask too. I had a friend that's a very big Vancouver Canucks fan. His name's Cam. Shout out to him. I was wondering if you wanted to share any good Vancouver Canucks stories of any teammates there, because that core, with like Luongo, Bieksa, and the Sedins and Kessler. It looks like you guys were like a really fun group. And would you be able to share any good stories about that time?
Yeah, that was a great team, man. I was spoiled very early. My first 2.5, almost 3 years to get a chance to play with that nucleus of guys, like you said. The Sedin twins, Dan Hamhuis, Manny Malhotra, Alex Burrows, Ryan Kessler, Sammy Salo, Bieksa, if I missed him. There was just Luongo. Like, there were so many good leaders on that team. Some funny guys. We just had a great time. It was always fun every single day we came to the rink. Like, so many pranks. Guys could take it, but then some guys would get heated. Guys would love pranking, like Yannick Hansen, and there's just like I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I mean that team was the only team I would have played on. The teams that I played with, where it would have been like, let's say we're on a road trip and we just finished playing in, I don't know, Nashville, and we're flying to LA. We don't play for 2 days. Mm-hmm. We'd land on the plane, get on the bus, back to the hotel, and then everybody would be like, get changed, be on the bus in 15 minutes. And everybody would go race up to the room, drop your bag off, change, down in the hotel, get on the bus, whatever time it was, and it'd be like, boom, the whole team's going to the bar. Like,
nice.
And the Sedins would be there, man. Like, not just a couple guys. Like, as I played on other teams, it'd be like 3 guys would want to do something together, or 2 guys over here. Like, that was the whole team. And it started obviously with your leadership from the top. And yeah, man, that was a fun. It's fun to win. It's fun to be a really good team in the NHL. There's not a lot of bad times we had there. Minus getting in the playoffs. We won the President's Trophy the first year. I don't even think it was very close. We were about 8-9 points ahead, I believe, and then we won our division the second year, pretty close to the top of the league. Lost in the first round again, but yeah, like you said, man, a lot of really good guys there. A lot of fun times.
Yeah, man. I remember seeing this clip, and I think some of our Habs Tonight crew showed me this clip, but it was I think Luongo might have orchestrated this prank on you with he took your helmet in practice once. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh no, that was that was Kessler. So
it was Kessler, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it was the day before or something, Torts just absolutely ripped me in video, like just called me out in front of everybody, and he just went off on me. It might even been the same day. I don't know. We were in Ottawa, so it was like a big Eastern road trip. I think it was the day before. And then this was a practice, and I'm getting dressed, and I have no helmet. And Torts' biggest thing was just don't be late. Like, if you're 5 minutes early, you're 10 minutes late, like, for everything. If you had meetings, they say meetings at 11 o'clock. Sometimes he'd start the meeting at 10:55. If you were coming in 10:56, he'd say, get out. You're not even in the meeting.
No way.
Yeah, just ridiculous stuff like that. So, like, you could not be late for practice. As a second-year guy, I was one of the younger guys on the team. We didn't have very many young guys. And he just ripped me the day before. So it's like, I have no helmet. Like, I'm not even going to be out there to start practice. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that just doesn't happen. So I'm panicking. I'm, like, screaming at everybody. Like, I did not think it was funny. It was a poor time for it. I'm going on the ice. I could see the Zambonis almost flooding, and it was I don't know what, the NHL revealed or something. They were like behind the scenes, so cameras were following me. So it was just pissing me off even more. I just wanted to be like, you guys probably filmed who did it. Just fucking tell me so I can put my helmet on. Like, I'm gonna get scratched tomorrow. Like, just tell me where it is. And they just keep filming. They're not saying anything. So it was like stressful for me. And then I found it, man. It was, but it was cool because I went out the next game. We won 4-1, big effort. I think I had a Gordie Howe hat trick, and then I got the team hat after, which capped off a pretty good couple of days. So it was pretty funny.
Beautiful, man. That's amazing, because I remember seeing that clip back then, and I was thinking, geez, and I could tell by like your body language too. I can tell there was a lot of anxiety in your system, and I was scared for you.
I was panicking, and then now that you know the background behind it, like, I could not be late for that practice. I had to be out there and be sharp. Like, there was, and Torts would have took that, so like, I would have been scratched the next day probably.
Fuck, that's brutal, man.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you too. Matt Rempe, or however, I think it's Matt Rempe.
Yeah.
It's really taken the NHL by storm since the Stadium Series. I remember watching that first fight with Matt Martin. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
He comes in, fights Martin. Obviously, pretty wild to do that on your first shift. Nowadays, that just doesn't happen anymore. You don't get a lot of guys like him. And I shouldn't say guys like him. I haven't watched him play enough, so I'm not making any assumptions on what kind of player he is. But yeah, then you got a couple other fights. Good fight with Reeves. I didn't like what he did with Gabriel. Like, he threw a pretty bad hit the game before. Gabriel's there. Like, you got to kind of answer the bell, and then he throws another dirty hit and waves at him on the way off. Like, I don't know. I didn't like that part, but he's definitely keeping things entertained. And I was kind of joking with a couple guys on Saturday. Like, pretty sure I had 4 fights in the first 6 or 7 games that I played, and nobody was talking about it because that was everybody's first 5, 6 games 10 years, 15 years ago. It was like,
That's right.
You come in, you're playing 6 shifts a night, like, you got to get noticed. So it's just funny how that goes to show you how much the game's changed.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Like, because I mean, I like everything he's doing. Like, I think he's gonna have a full-time spot with the Rangers going forward. Obviously, with the way he's playing. But again, like 10 years ago, he would just blend in with the rest of the league, kind of, right? Because again,
Yeah.
the physicality was more of a thing back then. I've been watching the game since '05, right? And yeah, it's definitely changed, right? And I think what he's doing is great. I think he's again, like, I think lately, I don't know what it is, but I feel like the old time hockey vibes coming back with the fights right off the face off. Like, Delorier and Reeves went at it last night, and man, look, Nick Delorier, sorry man, he's a unit. That guy, if I was in a bar fight, I think he'd be the first guy I'd call. One of the first guys I'd call to back me up.
He's a warrior, man. He's a slugger.
Yeah. Did you ever play with him at all?
Yeah, I played with him. I played with him in Montreal when I came back.
Oh yeah.
2018, 2019 there.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Me and him, like, we were both scratched for like the last month and a half. We barely played, so I got to know him pretty well.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Like, he seems like a really genuine guy, like a nice guy, and obviously
Great guy. Great guy.
Yeah.
Great. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and obviously, like, very respected around the league because, man, he fights guys that are like a lot bigger than him, and my goodness, he does some damage. Like,
he's a big
scary.
Man. He throws heavy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I wanted to circle back to the 2014 run, and I know I know, like, what Lucic said to you in the handshake line, but would you be able to explain or tell what he said, maybe to some people that don't know what he said?
Yeah, I think if people know the backstory, like, they saw how the whole series went, and I had him and Sean Thornton just so wound up, and I don't know if it was a spit. I don't know if it was a spit and chick. No, it wasn't Chicklets. It was John Scott's podcast. I don't know, sometime in the last year where he was talking about it, and you could see the guy still getting heated about it. So that's when you know you're really in a guy's head. If 10 years later he's still talking about it, and you can see the frustration in him still, shaking hands, he's going through that line, and I can see, like, he's having a confrontation with every single person and shaking hands. I'm like, what is going on here? Then he grabs my hand. He's like, I'm going to kill you next year. And then, like, keeps going and tells Emmeline the same thing. And it was like, just never seen that before in a handshake line.
Yeah, that's pretty wild too. Like, I remember you saying back then too, and I remember seeing it throughout the series. Like, Sean Thornton was on the Bruins at that time too. And I remember, I think on Habs Tonight on one of the streams, you said word for word, you said Thornton would have given up his paycheck to fight you, as you were just living in their heads rent free, like, that whole series. It was beautiful. It was, man, great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He it's so funny, man. Like, he was just, that's all he could think about. And at that time, the Merlot line, like him, Paille, and Campbell, was considered the best fourth line in hockey. They set the record as 119 points or whatever it was before Boston beat it, or Tampa beat it in 21, and then Boston beat it last year, I think. But that was a best record at that time. And they had nothing, man. We were dominating that line. I had a couple goals in the series. Like, not only was I not fighting them, I was, finishing checks, like just rattling people and scoring at the same time. So it was frustrating for them.
I remember one clip. I think I don't know if it was the breakaway goal or it was another one you scored, I think in game 6. But I remember because early on in the series, Lucic scored the empty netter and he started pounding his chest.
Yeah, I think that was game 2 for him.
Yes, that's right. And then I remember you scored a goal the next game or a goal throughout the series.
3. That was right in that very next game.
Okay, yeah. And then I remember you skated by and did it too, and I was like, oh, that's fucking great. I was ecstatic about that.
It gives me chills thinking about that, how loud the building was. That was the breakaway goal where Danny B hit me on the breakaway. Like, I don't know if I've ever heard a building that loud. Like, if I could go back to that 5 seconds of a game, that might be the ones that I would go back to.
Yeah, I bet, man. I remember even just watching it on TV. Like, I was in my living room with my brother and my mom, and you could just hear on the TV just the roar of the crowd. It was just like it was like art. I don't know how else to explain it, but it was just.
You're telling the right guy, man.
Yeah, it's insane.
Those memories I bring, if I'm on YouTube with my kid or something, or my little guy, and so that goal I'll bring up a little from time to time and watch that. It's just you relive the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, one thing I think about too, because obviously the Habs made the finals in 2021, and obviously there was a lot of the COVID restrictions, so they weren't allowed to have a full stadium or anything. But when Lecky scored that overtime goal, like, if they had a full stadium, I think the roof would have fell off for sure.
Couple moments it would have blown off. For sure. Maybe I'm biased, but when I think of that one, and only because I was a part of the 2014 run, and I think it meant, I don't know, it meant more to the hockey world because it wasn't a COVID, like even the year before, like we were in the bubble, shouldn't have been in playoffs. COVID year, Montreal shouldn't have been in the playoffs, ended up going to the Stanley Cup final. Like, just wild time. I can't even still believe that was a thing. Playing a season with no fans, like, that was wild, man.
Yeah, I remember even back when I think like the first time I interviewed you a few years ago, I remember you telling me like the bubble playoffs, there was just like, it was really hard to get into the games. You said there was more intensity in like a beer league game. I remember.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, middle of summer, no fans. Nobody's ever done that before. It's kind of a joke, but necessary evil. We had to get it done. For sure, yeah. And, obviously, like, I remember a lot of guys, I think Barclay Goodrow, after they won the cup that year, went on Twitter and said about how hard it was, because I think some reporter was saying how it was like a Fugazi Cup or something like that. And Barclay clapped back right away and said, this was probably harder than anything because, again, everyone was away from the family, their wives, their kids, their girlfriends, and even, whatever, right? So it's just insane, man. We won the Pittsburgh series, but technically we lost in the first round of the actual playoffs. Mm-hmm. And like that felt like a long time to go 3 more rounds and do that, man. That would not have been easy. That's a mental grind more than a physical grind.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It seemed like it because obviously, like, everyone's mindset was so like it was just a really hard time for everybody, right? So everyone's mindset was kind of probably not very positive to begin with, right? Because there was a lot of uncertainty with what was going on, right? So it was and obviously, like, for your sake too, like, being away from your wife and kids for I think you said for almost 2 months, it was like that's just hard in like as itself too, right? So
it was awful, man. And then you just there was so much uncertainty. I mean, just for myself and my career as well, and what we were doing, and it was a tough time.
Yeah, and I remember, like, because you took the next season off because you wanted to like rethink some things, and and nothing wrong with that, obviously. So did that time off benefit, like that year off? Because I know you started Habs tonight, and obviously there was a lot of cool things going on that year. Was it beneficial for you, I guess, to say?
You know what? I think it was beneficial in a way that I saw and did some things to kind of prepare myself for what retirement would actually be like. I wasn't really in retirement because I knew I was going to play again, but it showed me what it could be like. Doing some things with my family in different times of the year that I've never got to do before. And so I think it definitely prepared me for when I did stop playing, and then it was real retirement. So I definitely think it was beneficial that way for sure.
That makes sense. Yeah. I wanted to ask you because I know we talked before we hopped on here, and we were talking about like, like you post a lot of like motivational content, and I love what you post them on your story, and man, like I find you as a very like inspirational person. Like again, I've said you're a big mentor of mine and role model in a lot of ways. So what kind of for like the motivational content or that kind of picker upper kind of things, like what kind of made you like enjoy posting stuff like that, or what was it like, how did your mindset get to that?
Yeah, I think it was probably when I was like 18, my last year of junior, right before I read the book's called Mental Toughness. I think it's by Saul Miller. And it was like forwarded by Mario Lemieux. And I got this book. I think my dad or my mom, I think they both bought it for me. And it was like a motivational, like mental mindset book. And I think that's really like when I read that book and I started practicing some of the techniques, just self-talk or whatever it was back at that time. There wasn't a ton of YouTube and that stuff, not what it is today. I think that's kind of when it started for me. And then I just always searched out just positive things to listen to. I'm truly a big believer. You are what you say you are in your head over and over and over, and you truly can. Everyone talks about manifesting and everything now, and it seems like, to steal your word, like it seems like a fugazi, but it truly isn't. I truly believe you can manifest anything you want in life, and it doesn't just happen for you. You don't just sit here every day and be like, I'm going to make the NHL. I'm going to make the NHL. There obviously has to be some actions to it. But you start putting those thoughts in your brain, and it's crazy the way you'll see the world just starts attracting the things that you're thinking and speaking of. Subconsciously, you're taking those actions. You're telling yourself these things, and you surprise yourself, and things start to fall in place. And I've always had that belief after I read that book. And then obviously, I started watching Eric Thomas a ton. Eric Thomas is one of my.
I love him.
Yeah, I watched him from when he was just getting his start, before he blew up to what he is now. And man, the first speech that I watched is where the guy comes down to the beach. You heard the guru speech where, the guy comes down to walk out in the water. He's got, well, he's at the beach. He's like, you should have wore shorts. He came with a suit on. His mentor's trying to teach him something. He goes, how bad do you want to be successful? And he says, real bad, come out in the water. And he gets up to here and he's, how bad do you want to be successful? He says, real bad. He's like, okay, go under the water. And he goes under the water and comes back up. And, how bad do you want to be successful? Real bad. And he said, well, until you want to be I don't know what the exact wording is, but it was like, you got to want to be successful as bad as you want to breathe.
Yes.
That was like the very first one that I listened to. I watched over and over, and obviously started to watch some other stuff. And I just love that. I love filling your mind with positivity. I've always been a positive guy. I don't believe in, being negative or being a victim or poor me. It's just not the way I was raised. It's not the way I've lived my life. And I need to start posting some more stuff like that myself. Now that you said it, it's back in my head. I'm going to make a note and I'm going to start doing it because I do think people need to hear it. And I love telling the story myself. I've started to do some speaking engagements and stuff now with organizations and teams and younger kids and older, whatever, in hockey. And I just love to share the message. Like, you can be anything you want to be. And everybody says that, but I love being in front of people where you see a real person, like just a real dude that, has done maybe what you want to do. And if I can do it, you can do it. It's just good to see that visual. So that's kind of my, again, long-winded story behind it.
No, that's awesome. I totally agree. And like another thing for me too, like, I mean, my family, like, I've grown up to, to be, a spiritual family. We believe in God, and
Mhm.
that's another thing too with like lately with my life. I made it like a New Year's resolution for myself to, get back in touch with my spirituality.
Good. Good
I
for
feel
you.
like, thanks, man. Yeah, like I feel like at times I neglected it and I feel bad. And like we go to church as a family on Sundays,
Good.
and stuff like that. And like I got back into doing this again, like the
Nice.
podcasting, and and I just trusted God, and we're doing this today, and it's just a lot of beautiful things coming in the future, and I'm just really thankful. It was a bit of a hard time at the beginning of the year, it was just like feeling like like seasonal depression, but I
Mhm.
just got out of bed every day and just did what I had to do, because that's just the only way you're gonna do it. You just got to grab the bull by the horns and just it'll steer you in the right way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially when we're going through those times, and leaning into your faith, I find definitely helps. Whatever religion or faith, whatever, any of the listeners are listening to, leaning into that faith, and, just knowing things are not that bad. They
Mhm.
aren't as bad. They can always get better. You can choose to lean into your faith or lean into whatever it is that you believe in. And you'll find your way out of there. And I think that's a good message.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like I know one thing too, I wanted to start doing this stuff again, because I feel like I go on my phone, or I turn on my TV, and there's just so much negativity in this world right now, and
Oh,
you know yeah.
and it will suck you in if you don't watch, and you get lost in the dark hole. You don't even realize it.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, it can be really like, again, I've been through that too, where you just get sucked into that like pit, right? Because you see
Yeah,
the shit that's going on, and it's like,
just
holy
snowball.
fuck. Yeah,
It just,
and
man. That, you know what the sad truth is. Um, you know, I'm going to throw a random percentage out, but 90% of the world is not happy. 90% of the world is sitting on Instagram hating because they're not happy in their own life, and they're upset with their own life. Like, I think it's a small percentage of people are actually truly happy and enjoying their life, and it's just it's sad. It's sad. There's no way around it. Like, social media is a great tool if it's used correctly, and it can be an absolute dark hole if not used correctly. Like, you truly are what you consume, and there's so many positive, influential people on social media that, if those are the only people you're following, it's great, but you can, like you said, really go down the dark hole there.
yeah, it can be really bad. And like I feel like again, there's just growing up, like in school they taught us like junk food for the mind, right? Like like things you see
Yep.
on TV, and that could be negative towards your your thought process and things like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
luckily, like I've gotten to the point on my social media, like especially on TikTok and Instagram too, where it's a lot of like positive things, and
Good.
my
Good.
algorithms is really taken over, sorry. And yeah, so I'm pretty happy about that. So yeah, man, like it's been a crazy journey. Things are getting pretty good. I'm pretty happy with where I am now too. And I'm always thankful for everyone that's helped me get to where I am now. And I was years ago I went through some hard times in my life, and I crawled myself out of it. Like nobody really helped me. I kind of there's people that are supporting me, but
Yeah.
you know knew I had to get out of it myself. I was telling Drew when I had him on my podcast, when I had Deeksy on my podcast a few weeks ago, like you just cut out toxic people in your life, and you
That helps.
rebuild your life. Yeah, and you just rebuild your life. And it's like you're rebuilding a sports team, right? Like
Yeah.
who benefits you long term. Who are the people, sorry, that maybe aren't
Who's the,
good for long
who's the
term.
answer that I have to trade away? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. That's the analogy I kind of use with that. But yeah,
Mhm.
I'm just just happy
You
to be where I
you
am now.
have good people. You got to have good people around you, like, whether it's your family, friends,
Mhm.
whoever it is. Like, you can influence yourself a ton, and you can make your own decisions, but you're constantly around negative, toxic people that don't fill your cup, all they do is take out of your cup, man, your cup's gonna be be empty.
That's right.
And you have nothing left for yourself. Get around people that fill your cup, and you feel good about yourself, and you leave an interaction with them, and you're like, man, I feel energized. I feel good. Like that's the kind of energy you got to be around, because you get around, and everybody knows it, when you get around the wrong people and you just feel like the light just got sucked out of you. You're like, man, that person's so negative, or they have such a poor outlook on life, and it just, you don't realize it, and it just wears on you. Those type of people, there's no time for them.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. Totally agree. Yeah. Well, I think we'll wrap it up here. Again, thanks everybody for joining us today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. And Dale, thanks for joining us today, brother. I appreciate it. I know you're, again, very busy man, but appreciate you making the time for me here. Appreciate it.
Always have time for you, buddy. I'm glad we got a chance to do this, and we'll catch up real soon.
Absolutely, man. All right, guys, take it easy. Have a good night, and God bless.